So we're going to review the Honda NC750X. This is a DCT model. It's a 2023. I've ridden this bike for 18 months, so what I can tell you about it will be honest. Now, what I can't give you is technical jargon, okay? I am not an engineer, I'm not a moto rider, I'm not a sports rider. What I am is your average biker. So let's talk first about what the bike looks like. In my opinion, there are two adventure bikes that stand out above the rest. Sadly, this is not one of them. So let's look at the bike. The styling of the bike, nice and tidy, easy to keep clean. Now, this bike I've added the touring screen. We've also added some driving lights on the front on the engine crack bars and a full luggage rack. I have been touring on this bike and I do intend on doing quite a lot more touring on the bike. So the luggage rack is easy to fit. Let's talk about the features on the dashboard. I'll turn it on here. So it's a fairly simplistic little dash. Everything you need is on there. Because this is a DCT model, it does tell you what gear you're in. I don't know if the manual version will tell you the same. We've got petrol gauge, we've got rev counter, we have got the drive selection, and obviously your mileage. You can change certain elements of that at the bottom through different modes and settings. But it's not intrusive, doesn't have anything like sat-nav or anything like that. As you can see, there are 4 modes on this bike. So we have standard mode, we have sports mode, rain mode, and user mode. These are fairly self-explanatory. Standard is for your everyday riding if you can't really be bothered to do much else. Sport mode explains itself, rain mode explains itself, and the user mode is if you want to have a little bit more input into what the bike's doing. I ride the bike in user mode with a manual override most of the time, and that suits me. So what does the bike sound like? Let's have a listen. It's not an impressive sound. It's fairly quiet where, as far as bikes are concerned. I don't mind the sound of it. It's not loud. It doesn't growl. If you want a bike that's going to growl at you, then this is not the bike for you. It's quite a subtle purr. What you cannot do though, when you are in drive mode, is rev it, okay? When you're in neutral, you can. So what I found are the downsides of this bike, okay? One of them is that the water filler cap is all the way, I'll come round and show you, is under here. So you do have to remove this casing if you want to put water in. Obviously it's got a radiator, it's a water-cooled bike. The oil filler cap, it doesn't have a viewing window. You'll also find it doesn't have a centre stand as standard. So to check your oil and manage your oil, you will need to put it on a paddock stand, upright the bike, let it run for a couple of minutes, take the oil with the dipstick and fill it up through the filler cap there. And one other thing that I find just a little bit inconvenient about this bike is the fuel. Okay, so the fuel is underneath the back seat. That's absolutely fine if you're riding by yourself, but if you are touring and you've got fully loaded at the back, you've got bags on the back, if you've got a pillion, anything like that, it can be a little bit inconvenient. It's not a game changer. There's a reason the fuel filler is there, and that is because of this. So in my opinion, this is one of the best bits of the bike. Okay, this is what we are calling a frunk. Now, I don't know why all bikes can't have this. It's designed to put your helmet in. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if my helmet fits in there. I have never tried to put my helmet in there. What I keep in here is a set of waterproofs, a first aid kit, a small tool kit, and my handbag. You know, what else is there? So yeah, this is the most useful feature of this bike. If I'm going to be really picky about it, what I would say is that it opens the wrong way. I understand why it does, but it's getting out of there quickly. You know, if you pull over at the side of the road, you've got to take your key out, you've got to pop your key in there, you've got to open the bike, and it opens towards you. So, you know, you're either kind of rummaging or you've got to get off and get to the side. If it kind of flipped up the other way or side, you know, maybe open that way, you know, who knows. What you can't do with this model, you cannot add a tank bag to it. Previous models, older versions, I noticed that you could replace these plastic mouldings there with mouldings with gaps in so that you could attach a tank bag. We haven't found it for this model yet. I have been looking, nothing's been released. Honda don't make one as standard. There's some talk on forums about trying to like use magnets to get a magnetic tank bag on there. It doesn't really bother me, to be honest. You know, I can keep everything I need in the front. I've also just attached a little bag on the handlebars for any items I need to grab quickly, like my phone or, you know, my lip gloss, things like that. One thing I forgot to mention is the seat. Okay, now you'll notice here I've got quite a thick seat pad. If you're going to buy one of these bikes, I suggest one of the first things you do is invest in a good quality cushion seat or get the seat repadded. If I can add a Amazon link to this particular seat pad, I will. This is the one that I found is the most comfortable. So what you will notice as well, because the fuel tank is under the seat and because there is an empty frunk at the top there, the bike is quite low centre of gravity, so you'll find it really easy, if you're a woman especially, or a smaller man, just to manoeuvre this bike. It's got a good grab handle at the back. You know, it's quite an easy bike to move around without much effort. So I think we've covered everything on the bike. So what I think we'll do is we'll take it out for a spin. So I've chosen to go for the high visibility retro ski jacket today. One of the first things you will notice when you start to ride this bike is the exhaust sound or lack of it. So from the riding position, I can hear the engine more than I can hear the exhaust. Not a problem. But like I say, if you like the loud, growly exhaust, then it's not the right bike for you, or you want to be changing the cam. Now, the ride position is fairly upright. And I think it would be upright for anybody. It's an upright bike. I have a slight lean forwards, but not so much that the weight is on my hands. It's a comfortable riding position. My legs are at 90 degrees. Mirrors are wide enough that I can see past myself quite easily. It's a good, comfortable ride position. Now, as I mentioned before about the seat pad, seat comfort, for me now it's very comfortable. However, Honda have neglected to, I think, include any padding in the seat on the NC750, especially on this latest version. A lot of people have bought seat pads or they've had the seats reupholstered and repadded. Now, as you know, I'm not scientific, so I can't give you the science behind the DCT. I know that it stands for dual clutch technology. I know that it means that I don't have a clutch lever and I don't have a gear shift at my foot. It's not a continuous drive like a scooter, so we do have gear changing up and down as normal. Now, the bike will select the gear that it wants me to ride in. If you're in standard mode, it will get up to 6th gear as fast as it possibly can. That's how it wants you to ride. Most fuel economic, I'm guessing. I've set the bike in user mode and I ride the bike in user mode, and I spent some time recently manually shifting to suit my ride. What I had found previously is that the DCT would sometimes shift up a gear in corners, even if I had manually shifted down the gears to choose the gear that I wanted to corner in, it would still shift up a gear. Now, the bike, I'm guessing it's intelligent technology, so it has adjusted to my style of riding. If the bike isn't in the gear I want for a particular corner, I'll just downshift and it will stay there, which I'm quite happy with. So it's a much more comfortable ride. One thing I will mention about the DCT, now I don't know if it's an issue with all DCT bikes. I've known it happen to, well, 3, including my own. Now, when the bike is cold, maybe not, but in my situations, it has been cold. Whether it will be a little bit of fuel storage or something, because you are completely reliant on your accelerator for movement, you can't pull the clutch in and go into neutral and coast. So slow speed maneuvers, you literally accelerator and back brake. This takes a little bit of getting used to. You can't feather the clutch. I also found sometimes when the bike is cold, it will jerk unexpectedly. So you could be stopped at a roundabout, you could be stopped at a set of traffic lights, and for no apparent reason, the bike will jerk forwards. Now, the first time it did it to me, I wasn't expecting it, and I wasn't covering my back brake. I have learned from there to cover the back brake every time I stop. It happened to a friend of mine who had an African Twin DCT, and he covered his back brake. He was stopped at a roundabout. So we're both in that situation, been quite lucky that we didn't hit anything and we didn't come off. So that's something to be aware of with the DCT. Well, because it's got a very low centre of gravity, it corners surprisingly well. I'm not saying it corners like a sports bike, but it's not a long bike. It's a relatively short bike with a low centre of gravity. Nice fat tyres. So, cornering is beautiful. It's lovely through the corners. Now, we're heading for the motorway. I am going to switch into standard mode. The reason for that is in sport or user, the bike won't naturally select its gear unless I'm doing, well, fast. So, switching it into standard mode because I want the bike to get up into 6th gear as fast as it can. Now, I'm quite happy with the pull on this bike. It's got a lot of torque. It's got enough to get you out of any kind of trouble. It's got enough to overtake anything. As you would expect, it's a 750 motorbike. So, it's got everything you need. What it hasn't got is any excitement. It's a very reliable, trustworthy, it's an honest bike. It's not your Ducati Diavels. It's a Honda NC750. It's a lovely ride. It's lovely and smooth. The suspension's just how you want it to be. Now, what it won't do is, if you are fully loaded or want to carry a pillion, you don't have any adjustable suspension. Whether it's needed or not, I don't know. I've never had an issue. I've carried pillions and I have carried full luggage, and I haven't found the steering go light or anything. Also being told I don't need to adjust the tyre pressures, so kind of just ride the bike as it is, but quite comfortably. So what I'm going to do is, I'll put some Amazon links on, if I can, for some of the extras that I've got for this bike, particularly the seat. I'll also pop a link on there as well for the Insta360 camera. So if you haven't got one of these cameras, great little camera. I'll pop a link on for that as well. And if you've not subscribed and you've enjoyed the review, hit subscribe. I do plan to do a lot more. I'm going to do some cafes, some rides, reviews, clothing, anything I can really, and I'll pop it on the YouTube. Little shorter videos, fun stuff we'll put up on Instagram. So you can find me at wildsoul.biker. So give us a follow on Instagram as well.
and I hope you've enjoyed the review. See you later.